Butterfield Color presents the practical guide to coloring and stamping concrete. In this video, we hope to illustrate the stamping technique for both flatwork and risers. This video illustrates the Butterfield Color Uni-Mix colorant system. Uni-Mix colorants meet ASTM standard C979. They are non-fading and produce uniform streak-free colors in concrete. The water-reducing wetting agent in Uni-Mix colorants allow the color to mix more freely, quickly, and evenly, without additional water, thereby allowing increased strength in the cured concrete and increasing its resistance to freeze-thaw. The same component improves the finishing characteristics of the concrete, adding enormous benefit. Superior quality control helps to ensure your jobs will have uniform color load to load, year to year. Butterfield Color Perma-Cast color hardener is also widely used in stamped concrete installations. While the stamping operations shown apply to both products, for more information on Perma-Cast, please see the Butterfield Color Perma-Cast Technical Data Specification Guide. Concrete should have a minimum of 5 sacks of cement per cubic yard of concrete. If fly ash is used in a mix to reduce the heat of hydration and slow the set of concrete, that mix should be used for all adjacent pours, as it will have a slight effect on color. Concrete must be free of reactive ingredients and should be poured at a 4-inch slump or less. Bear in mind, water-cement ratio needs to be consistent throughout the entire project. In hot weather, the use of a set retarder should be considered. In cold weather, when accelerant is needed, choose a non-chloride accelerant. Never use calcium chloride. All concrete subject to freeze-thaw cycles should be properly air-entrained at 5 to 7%. Uni-Mix is always consistent. There are other variables that can affect the appearance of concrete, therefore it is important that you discuss your project with your ready-mix supplier. The same cement and aggregates must be maintained throughout the entire pour. Any alterations will affect the final color. Control joints cannot be tooled in during the finishing process. Instead, they'll be cut in the day after the pour using a diamond blade. Because of this, a standard 3/4 inch aggregate is recommended over pea-gravel mixes, which have a higher incident of cracking prior to the saw cutting. Polyfiber reinforcement also helps reduce shrinkage cracking, and its use is highly recommended. During the summer months, pours should be scheduled for early morning to beat the heat. Set times vary widely, so choose slower setting cement when temps reach into the 80s. Experience has shown that trucks should be scheduled 45 minutes apart, which is typically the time needed to stamp 8 yards. This schedule allows the stamping operation to flow smoothly from one load to the next. Until your experience allows, you might consider limiting yourself to 8-yard pours. Uni-Mix colorants are packaged to eliminate weighing and measuring errors. One bag is added to each cubic yard of concrete. Bags need not be opened. Simply toss the dissolving bag into the mixer. This eliminates the messy and accurate procedure of weighing and handling loose colorants. Uni-Mix is available in 20 standard colors. Custom color requests are welcome at Butterfield Color. Designing theme colors and precise color matching are perfected at no additional cost. The mixer drum should be in good condition with little or no buildup on the fins. 1/4 of the volume of the mixer is the minimum amount of concrete that should be used to develop a homogeneous mix. Spin the drum in reverse until the load backs up to the top. Place the unopened bag of Uni-Mix admixture directly onto concrete and mix approximately 100 revolutions. Prior to pouring, protect adjacent areas with plastic sheeting. Risers should be puddled or vibrated to reduce honeycomb on the face. Although it seems like more work to pour concrete at lower slumps, it will save time and effort in the stamping process. The end result will be a cleaner job. Once placing has begun, do not add more water, as it will affect color. After placing, we recommend the use of a jitterbug prior to floating and edging, which brings more cream to the surface and allows for cleaner impressions during stamping. When pouring stiffer than a 4-inch slump, it's sometimes necessary to put weights on your bull float. Once the concrete has been edged and floated, wait for all bleed water to evaporate, then repeat the floating operation. Closing with a steel trowel can lessen air entrainment on the surface and should be avoided where freeze-thaw is a concern. Water should never be added to the surface of concrete as it will weaken and discolor it. Don't wet your tools either. Finishing techniques must be consistent. Differing finishing techniques will change the appearance of color. Note how soon you're able to kneeboard onto the slab to strip and face this interior step due to the stiffer mix. Teamwork will help a job move smoothly. For steps with more than one riser within a patio, don't attempt to pour them at the same time as the patio. By pouring the steps beforehand, you'll be able to give them the attention they'll need for a first-class job. After concrete is set enough to hold a man's weight, broadcast an even layer of Perma-Cast antiquing release over the entire slab. Remember, once release has been broadcast, you cannot float again, so make sure you're satisfied with the finish before you release the slab. You are now ready to begin stamping. With most patterns, alignment of the first tool is critical. A reference line should be measured off of the structure. Texture your edges and the face of your risers with a texture mat that matches the texture on your stamps. This helps to maintain uniform texture throughout the installation, even in areas where stamping tools can't reach. When you reach an obstruction, such as a stake or a wall, a flexible tool is then used to complete the pattern. The face of the riser should be stamped with a texture mat. The grout lines are applied by hand using an aluminum touch-up chisel. Typically, one person will tamp the tools while another person continues to move the tools forward. Care must be taken to lift the tools straight up so they do not drag along the concrete. Try to keep the stamps moving steadily across the pour, because a stamp that sits in one spot too long tends to trap moisture, which can lead to discoloration. When you're forming for stamped concrete, remember that a pattern with straight lines will highlight any errors in formwork if it is not square. The bottoms of riser forms should be beveled at a 45-degree angle. Make sure you follow American Concrete Institute standards for placement of reinforcement and control joint spacing. This pour is at a less than 4-inch slump and consolidated with a vibrator. All faces are puddled with a shovel to reduce honeycomb and make the facing operation easier. Prior to placing concrete, all forms are dampened with a hose. Clean the outside of the form as you go to avoid contamination during stripping and facing. We're going to retain some concrete in the shade to be used later to fill stake holes while the forms are stripped. For longer working time, concrete can also be set aside in a cooler on ice. Although it seems like more work to pour concrete at lower slumps, it will save time and effort in the stamping process. The concrete will be stiff enough to carry the weight of a man on the stamps before hydration begins, allowing more time for stamping. Also, less water will produce richer color and stronger concrete. By beveling the form board, you can float right up to the face of the riser prior to stripping. Also note that landings and treads should be pitched at 1/4 inch per foot for drainage. Riser forms should be removed as soon as the concrete will hold its shape. On this job, we'll leave the bottom riser form in place through the stamping operation due to the pressures involved. But by the time we're done stamping, we should be able to strip that too. A small piece of plastic sheeting makes an ideal exterior radius tool. Make sure you're satisfied with the finish. Then it's time to apply the Perma-Cast release agent. One 30-pound bucket should cover about 1,000 square feet. After the Perma-Cast release agent has been broadcast, the risers and treads should be textured using a texture mat. A dry line is used as a guide for the capstone effect. The grout lines are applied by hand using an aluminum touch-up chisel. All joints on horizontal surfaces should be carried to this guide. Although this experienced craftsman has a good eye for plumb, you may want to use a torpedo level to help with the vertical lines. Always inspect the job carefully, looking for missed hand cuts and imperfections. They're a lot easier to correct while the concrete is still plastic. Control joints should be cut in using a diamond blade the day after the pour. Cuts should be made a 1/4 depth of slab following ACI guidelines for control joint spacing. A small angle grinder with a diamond wheel is recommended for cutting risers. Make sure to use proper eye and hearing protection, and of course, wear an approved dust mask. After the control joints have been cut, the excess release should be washed off using a pressure washer having approximately 2,500 psi, using even overlapping wand strokes. Care should be taken not to get the tip too close, or it may damage the finish. After concrete has been washed and allowed to dry thoroughly, apply thin, even coats of ClearGuard non-yellowing cure and seal. This seals and protects concrete while enhancing the color. Butterfield Color manufactures a complete line of products for all of your architectural concrete needs. The unique and easy-to-use Uni-Mix integral concrete colorant, Perma-Cast shake-on color hardener and antiquing release, the finest stamping tools. The combination of colors and textures made by Butterfield Color hold almost unlimited design possibilities. Butterfield Color, for engineered concrete performance. For more information about Butterfield Color, please visit our website at butterfieldcolor.com.